Hello dear Sinceres, welcome to my channel. My name is Cynthia Sincere and I'm an holistic coach and astrologer. And today we're going to talk about the full moon in Aquarius. This is a very interesting full moon with very interesting aspects occurring, and not the happiest moon of all, but stay tuned to hear what I have to say more. But before we go there, I just want to announce that I am starting to teach astrology, and if you would like to learn with me how to read a natal chart, how to read your chart, how to read other people's chart, how to make predictions, and how to check for many other things, like for example your karma or love life or things like that, then please check the link below this video where you can sign up for my course that's going to start in October this year, and you will receive an email with all the information closer to the date and all the costs and everything, and then you can make your decision. So I hope to see you there, and let's go. Let's start talking about this wonderful, very interesting full moon. So this full moon is happening on the 11th of August 2022. It will be happening on the 19th degrees and 21 minutes, which is in the Gemini Decan and Virgo Dwad. So when we talk about Dwads, we're talking about layers of psychology that give us some kind of inner motivation for our actions, a psychological side to things. But I will also be making more videos on Dwads and Decans very soon, so please, if you want to hear and learn more about Dwads and Decans, make sure you subscribe below. Full moons are usually quite intense periods. Sometimes there's words like lunatic, like lunacy, that are associated with the full moon period, given that this coming from the moon, because the moon is a period when people tend to feel very intense emotions, feel very nervous, more aggressive, more erratic, more reactionary, and this is it's like the light of the moon is kind of reflecting that onto us. My explanation to that is that the moon has a connection to the astral world, the astral plane, and this opens up a portal that allows energies from the astral world coming in. The astral world is composed of inferior zones and superior zones, of beneficial entities and not so beneficial. So sometimes what's coming in is not such a good influence for people, and people are easily affected then by these energies that can be a little bit erratic, a little bit towards being very emotional, being very intense, and feeling overwhelmed as well. Especially the more sensitive someone is, the more they may tend to feel these energies. And this moon is in a close conjunction with Saturn. Saturn is actually around 22 degrees. And the moon and Saturn conjunctions are not usually the happiest ones, because the moon is all about emotions. It's all about feeling. It's all about expressing the heart. It's all about giving affection, receiving affection. Is this maternal, motherly love, nutrition, nurturing, is very much connected to the archetype of the mother and the child. And the moon can be both the mother who wants to give the love as the child who is seeking for that nurture, that sustenance, that attention. And Saturn, he is very much dry. He doesn't really care much about affection or emotions. He's very much logic, and he's almost like the Saturn can have many levels. There's the high level of Saturn and the lower level of Saturn. One of the archetypes of Saturn is this grumpy old man who is very stern and hasn't really come to life in a sense that he was able to keep his inner child with him. And so he becomes this really dry, stern old man who is grumpy about life and grumpy about everything. And so if you imagine the moon who wants to love, who wants to give nurturing, who wants to give sustenance, with Saturn, who is this grumpy old man who doesn't care, who's very stern, it's like she's calling for this attention and wanting this affection, but Saturn doesn't really care and doesn't really give it to her. Now the moon is in Aquarius. Aquarius moon makes a moon more detached, makes a moon more not so connected to her emotions so much, and wanting very much emotional freedom. Also, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn has a much more influence over the moon in this case, because moon is in Aquarius. Saturn is in the sign of Aquarius, and Saturn also is ruling Aquarius. So this moon is having a very, very strong influence, with Saturn being in its own house, in its own home, ruling over the moon and being so close to it. And so moon also represents the public. It represents the society, the people. And so Saturn has this aspect of representing the government, the authority. And in a mundane perspective, this could mean, for example, that we might see more restrictions from the government imposed on the people. But Moon in Aquarius and Saturn in Aquarius is all about freedom. Aquarius is a sign of freedom, is a sign of progress, is a sign of technology, of science, but it's also very much about communities, about seeking for the future, about looking towards the future. And so we can also see this aspect happening where people start to feel this is time for us to create more community. It's time for us to think in humanitarian terms, to feel more in humanitarian terms. It's time for us to create something new, create a community that has longevity, which is Saturn. Saturn provides longevity. Is also about having solid ground. Saturn is about solid ground, solidity. And it's also about having structure, having a maturity. So Saturn is also in the positive side, providing this opportunity for people to join in together in communities, seek towards the future, and trying to create new alternatives that are futuristic, that are humanitarian, that seek to bring humanity to a higher level. How I see Saturn is basically in three ways. So there's the Capricornian Saturn, there's the Aquarian Saturn, and then there's the Libran Saturn. So the Capricornian Saturn, this is the first sign that Saturn rules, is Capricorn. Is all about authority, is all about status, is all about having importance and social standing and achieving, and having this kind of respectability from others, from society. Is the one that also rules the 10th house, which is also very much about career, about achieving a social position and how the world sees us and values us. Then Saturn moves on to Aquarius. In Aquarius, Saturn acquires a different coloring because Aquarius is talking about humanity. So the story of Saturn in very, very short in a very short term, is that Saturn is Chronos, time. And Saturn is the son of Uranus. So Saturn sort of cut Uranus' ability to reproduce under the orders of his mother Rhea, and to punish Uranus. However, Saturn himself became also quite tyrannical, because there was some kind of a prophecy that one of his children was going to defeat him and was going to take his place of rulership. Saturn, in this fear, decided to devour all his children. And so when he did so, when he devoured all his children, then Zeus, who was seeing this happening, and his mother decided to then kill Saturn to release the brothers and sisters. However, Zeus didn't really kill Saturn. Saturn was more like exiled out to the earth as an old man, and he then became the giver of agriculture to humanity. So Saturn brings gifts. He does bring gifts to humanity, to people. And Saturn's objective is to have humanity grow in maturity, to have humanity evolve towards a state of being very childlike and not having responsibility, not having any sense of groundedness, of maturity, into a more mature, more serious, responsible human. What Aquarius does, Aquarius is this mad scientist. This is Uranus, it's Aquarius, is the mad scientist. He just wants progress at any cost, no consequences, no measure for consequences. So when you have Saturn in Uranus, Saturn can be the side of the punish planet, the planet that punishes, that gives you hardships when you don't know better, when you haven't matured. But in Aquarius, the objective of Saturn is to take humanity to the next stage, to the next level, so that humanity learns, and so that humanity becomes more mature, more aware. So then Aquarius can bring all the technology, all the science that it can bring, all these magical, amazing things that will help humanity, but humanity will use it responsibly and not destroy itself. So that's the next stage of Saturn. That's how I see it. And then the other stage of Saturn above that is Libra Saturn. So Saturn gets exalted in Libra, which means that this is what Saturn ultimately wants to become, is a Libra Saturn. And in Libra, Saturn becomes what? Harmony, love, art between people. This is what Saturn wants. Saturn, from this being this old, quick, stern, strict man, he wants to become beautiful. He wants to become artistic. He wants to be loved. He wants to be admired. He wants to create beauty around him. So that's the ultimate goal of Saturn. But he can only really become that through humanity evolution, because this is very much about humanity. Saturn is taking humanity to a higher stage of evolution. But enough about Saturn. This is not a moon about Saturn. It's just to give you a very brief explanation, and also a little bit of inkling of what we'll be learning in my astrology course starting in October. Please remember, if you want to know more, so sign up below. A little bit of publicity. Since there's no one sponsoring my video, I can do all this publicity. And continuing on, so how I see this full moon is basically, we are still in Leo season. And Leo is all about parties, all about being social, about having fun, is all about glamour and shining and having friends around and look at me, I'm so glorious, I'm so amazing, and wanting to be outside and enjoying holidays, enjoying life, having fun, hobbies, all of these things. And then Saturn, who is this very stern, serious old man, is doing this opposition to the Sun. And how I see it is that Saturn is like the father coming home and cutting the child, the son, having a party behind his back when he went on holiday or he went away somewhere. And it's like, once the father, the grandparent, the serious parent arrives, what happens? Party is over. So he kind of comes now with the moon, being so close to the moon, to kind of really bring this really low. And so he's a bit of a party popper, because the moon is being a little bit oppressed emotionally by Saturn here, with a conjunction also opposing the sun. And then the sun is having this opposition from Saturn. Good thing is the sun is also in rulership, but then Saturn is also in rulership. So we have two strong planets, one against each other. And having the moon there intensifying everyone's emotions and everyone's feelings. So the moon kind of brings in a little bit of a low mood, a certain level of apathy, a certain level of depression with Saturn, because she's together with Saturn, and Saturn is a stronger planet. It brings a certain level of feeling very like bored or not much joy of life. Another aspect of the moon and Saturn together, talking again about the moon representing the people and Saturn representing authority and government, and this aspect of Saturn in Aquarius is people want freedom. In Aquarius, they want to find humanitarian values for freedom. But Saturn, in his lesser lower aspect, he is tyrannical. He wants control. He wants to dominate. He wants to exert his power. And so what can happen here is a little bit what we've seen in the past with many ideologies, because Aquarius is a very ideological sign, and therefore what can happen is when we had ideologies in the past that were pro-freedom, many times what happened is that they fell and descended into some kind of dictatorship. The promise to the public, to the people, was to liberate them, to release them from poverty, to bring equal justice, humanitarian values. But what ended up happening was dictatorship was brought, and people, instead of being more free, became more oppressed and more imprisoned. So there's also this aspect of Moon in Aquarius with Saturn together. Let's not forget as well that we have still Uranus squaring Saturn. So we have been having this square for many months, kind of coming and going with the retrogrades, and then meeting again when they go direct or go retrograde again. So it's been happening, and we've been seeing all these transformations on the social level with the food, with financial system, like all our resources, because Uranus is in Taurus, and Taurus is very much about our resources, have been shifted, have been changing, have been transforming. Because the square still keeps happening now, the moon being there, these things might intensify a little bit. And also this aspect is a T-square, so we'll have the opposition of Saturn and Sun, but they are doing a T-square with Uranus and North Node and Mars, which are still conjuncting, even though Mars is kind of distancing himself. I did a video on Uranus, North Node, and Mars conjunction. You can check out on top somewhere. So this conjunction is doing a T-square, and the T-square is an aspect that carries a lot of energy. It's almost like you have this push and pull, but then you have another added energy, which is tensing all this push and pull. So it's like not only have the push and pull between Saturn and Sun, but then you have also a push and pull by North Node, Mars, and Uranus. And usually the one that pulls through the squares is the one that resolves the tension. So what's being asked of us here is that we kind of ask of ourselves, what actions do we need to take because of Mars? How can we transform, and how can we reflect? How can we find a point of direction that we can take because of North Node for humanity, where we can have the structure, we can have the grounding, we can have the maturity, we can have some level of authority, because it's not the authority is bad, but a healthy authority, a mature authority. And we can have also the Sun in Leo shining, where we have our own individuality, because that's what Sun in Leo is about individuality. It's about having our own right to be ourselves, to express ourselves, to be to shine who we are, to be free, to be free to express our feelings, express our art, express what's inside of us, express our own beauty. So there's this push and pull. The beauty of this is, if we look at Saturn in Aquarius, like I said before, having this desire to carry humanity forward. And then we look at the sun with this sun in Leo having this desire to express itself and shine and glow and be individual. This push and pull is all about finding a midpoint where we can have both of these things. And this midpoint ends up being not midpoints in astrology, but a midpoint for the T-square. Ends up being North Node, Uranus, and Mars. So this would be talking about what is our direction, our collective direction that we want to take. What is, how can we find transformation and freedom? How can we transform humanity? How can we transform ourselves and find this middle ground between Saturn and Sun? How can we take action and be dynamic and do something about all the issues we are facing in Taurus with the financial system, with resources, with food, with all of this? So this is what this T-square, it might be asking of us, that we kind of find this direction for us individually and in a humanitarian and collective way. Full moon is in a Virgo dwad, and so the psychological aspects, which I started to talk about but I didn't finish, would be having this Virgo influence. Virgo is very much about healing, about serving others, about being humble, about finding practical ways, practical solutions, practical things, about connecting to animals, about connecting to the routines, to the day-to-day life. So there might be all these aspects that we might want to take also in consideration for ourselves. If we feel a lot of intensity with this moon, we maybe can turn to this Virgo dwad and find ourselves, maybe we can use this energy, this overwhelm, to clean, to do some house cleaning, or spring cleaning would be more of a summer cleaning in this case, or to serve people and doing some kind of service to others, or to animals, or connecting with animals, or to organize our life, to structure our life, our diaries, our routines, our diets, our health. And so that's it. That's all I have to say for this full moon in Aquarius. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if so, please make sure you press like below, and please subscribe to this channel. It would really help me, as I still unfortunately not able to do this full time, and I would love to bring you more and more videos for you to watch. And also please make sure you share it with your friends, and feel free to comment below. I hope to see you next time. Please remember to check me out also on my website at cynthiasincere.com for readings and seeing other services that I offer, and also to sign up below for my course in astrology coming in October. And may the cosmos and the stars be with you.